Palestinian mission to the UK. Ambassador, good to have you on the show, and great timing, in fact, that you are here. Of course, we've heard from Mahmoud Abbas. Just your 2 cents, really, from what you heard. Well, the significance, really,
the significance of what President Abbas said just now to the world, to the UN, is that he is a man of peace. He has a vision. He represents his people. He represents our commitment, our firm commitment, and he's been absolutely steady over the years and the decades. President Abbas's DNA is peace, is arriving at a final solution. But the irony of that is that while the US administration receives in open arms an ICC wanted man for war crimes, that is Netanyahu, they prevent the Palestinian president from addressing a peace conference in New York. That's really...
And obviously this was on video.
That's really the irony of the moment. However, the voice of Palestine spoke, that is the president, through the video conference, and the message was delivered. Have you ever heard, Isa, any Israeli leader ever stating such a clear vision of accepting the other, recognizing the other, accepting the right of self-determination to the other, sharing a future together? You will never hear that.
Clearly, he wasn't allowed in. He's addressing it via video link, President Abbas. But as Jim was saying, there's strength in numbers here. More than 145 countries recognizing Palestine. I saw you today, saw a video of you today, in that moment as the flag was being hoisted outside the embassy. One, what does it mean on a personal level for you? I'm keen to get a sense of that, because you and I have spoken on many occasions, and the fears and frustrations and the anger that you would discuss. But also, in real terms, Ambassador, what does that mean? How much does this change the situation on the ground, the dire, desperate situation on the ground?
Well, UK and international recognitions are not going to end the genocide or the occupation, for that matter. We know that. Recognitions will not bring back the lives we've lost, the homes that have been destroyed, the livelihoods that have been stolen. But the question is not why should the world recognize the state of Palestine, the small little minority countries that didn't, which is the Western powerful countries. The question is, the lack of recognition for all these years have led us to where we are today. Because the lack of recognition has emboldened Israel, successive Israeli governments, particularly this most fanatical government, Netanyahu, Smotrich, Ben Gvir, has emboldened them to actually believe that they can have a permanent occupation, and the policy of ethnic cleansing, the policy of genocide would be normalized and accepted. So yes, it will not immediately change the situation, but it is a turning point, particularly the UK. And ask me why. Because the Palestinian agony started here in this city you are sitting in London. The Balfour Declaration, the denial of Palestinian people's existence, the denial of our right to self-determination, the British mandate, and the British role in the Nakba of the Palestinian people. And then comes a moment yesterday when the British Prime Minister stands and say, I recognize the state of Palestine and the inalienable right of the Palestinian people for self-determination. That is almost seeing history turn.
You didn't actually answer the question over what it means to you, and I want to know that on a personal level.
You mean personally?
Yes, of course.
I am a Palestinian refugee. I was born in a refugee camp in Rafah, in Gaza. And for a boy from a refugee camp who grew up and was educated by his community, was nurtured, raised by my people, family and neighbors, and, I am the son of the Nakba, so the narrative there was the collective experience of the Nakba, the uprooting of the Palestinians, the mass transfer, the loss of our land and properties, and the role of Britain there. And then that boy from the refugee camp to become a representative for his people in the country that has contributed to that. And that boy from the refugee camp wanted to be a small part of turning that history and of righting the wrongs and of correcting the gravest historic injustice. It was a moment of pride, and it was a moment of preparation for a lot to come. This is merely, this is merely a starting point.
this needs to be accompanied by action, right? It's symbolic, like you said, Ambassador. What action are we likely to see? You heard what Netanyahu was saying today, basically saying he won't recognize a Palestinian state. We know he doesn't sit on a two-state solution. Then where does this recognition take you? What would you like to see at this point? Because as you heard from the President Trump last week, next to Prime Minister Starmer, they have their differences. How does this move the needle at all to bring an end to this conflict?
Go back to history. See all other nations who have gone through what we have gone through. Look how it all started with the people, with the public opinion. Remember what Jim just said about the US public?
Yeah, of course.
And he's right, spot on.
Yeah.
US public is changing, things are changing. It's not at the policy level, but at the politics level. It's tectonic shifts in the US, not only in the Democratic side, but also on the Republican side. And we see the changes in the components of the US, of the American society. This is a long conversation. So
we don't have much long.
Yeah, this is a long, that's why this is a long conversation. But that change is coming. It's arriving. That change at the base, going to the parliaments and the governments here in Europe, there in the US. And, you know, the very main thing here is that the US is always late. Remember South Africa and the anti-apartheid movement? The last was the Reagan administration. But then when the world comes, when the people of the world comes, when the governments of the world come, when the people of the US come, the US administration follow. We hope that is not going to take much longer.
As Macron said, the time for peace has come. Let's hope that's the case for everyone. Ambassador, always great to see you. Thanks very much. Thanks for coming on. A very busy hour of music and